So we have seen how we can define a concept of SDD and SDT. Now let's take a very simple example to realize how we can write the SDD for a grammar. For example, um, let's write a grammar something like this: E2 E plus T or T. Okay, then let's write T2 T multiplied by F or F and F to some certain number, some certain value. Okay, and you see, we can write the corresponding syntax, the rule of each and every. Remember one thing, that since we are talking about SDT right now, if you cannot ignore rule for even a single production in your grammar. Okay, like for example, in this case, for the first case, you can say that you are adding two numbers, right? So you can assume that you have a, say, you have a attribute name, say val. Okay, attribute say val, whose for each and every node over here. So you can write this e dot val equal to e dot val plus t dot val. Now don't think that this e dot val and this e dot val are same, because this e can be a node in a different level and this e can be a node in an upper level, like that. I mean, we will see it very soon when we will design the corresponding syntax tree or parse tree and along with the rules. So here, since you see you are writing e to t, there is nothing addition, right? So that means whatever value of val attribute in this t node will be just copied in the val attribute of e node, right? That actually represents by this production e to t. So this is what I can simply write: e dot val equal to t dot val. That's all. Now understanding what dot val attribute rules, all these things already we have seen in the previous slide over here. I have already defined that, so I hope you can remember. Now for this third case, I hope you can easily predict that what could be a semantic rule over here. You can write t dot val equal to t dot val plus sorry, into f dot val, right? Similarly here, t dot val can be just written equal to f dot val because that is the only copy operation over here, right? And here, okay, let's do one thing. Let's consider a different name here so that I can discriminate, because let's write here num. Okay, so why I have written num, why not val? Because I am considering the attribute of this f. Attribute of f also is val, so I should write f dot val equal to, say for example, num dot l value. L value means what? L value means the value of this exact, the variable that I have over here. Okay, so if I have, so this is what I can say, all these things that I have written over here, we can say a meaningful rules expressed in informal way, right? Also, this is actually what you can say semantic rule. So this is now using these semantic rules. If I want to draw the parse tree, now how basically it is evaluated? For example, assume that we have to evaluate. For example, we assume we have to evaluate 5 plus 3 into 2. This particular production rule. This particular string we have to evaluate. You see, it's we are talking about semantic analysis. That mean we don't know, we are assuming that obviously there is a parse tree which already passed this particular string, and that's why we are now at the point of semantic analysis. So that means there is a parse tree already present here, right? So let's draw the parse tree first. So I will write e to e, then it will be plus, then it will be t over here, and then this t can be written as t, then star, then it's f, and then this e can be written as t can be written as f, and f can be written as some num. Say the value of num is 5. Here t can be written as again f can be written as num, which is equal to 3. Here f can be written as num, and whose value is, for example, 2. Now question is that when the parse tree, this parse tree is already present in the hand when you are in the semantic analysis phase. Now what basically you have to do, you have to apply rules over here, presented over here, to evaluate the string. And what we can see that just for keeping simple rule, I have considered the attribute of each and every note as val, but it is not mandatory that attribute has to be val for every case. Okay, so I can have some other attribute over here, but ultimately the function and the job remains same. So let's start from this point, and we know that it will start from here and it will go back in this direction, right? So basically when it will, go in this direction, that first thing that we will find is num will be reduced to f because of this production rule. So that means what we have over here, that f dot val will be equal to 5, because it is written that f dot val equal to num dot l value. That means whatever value in this num will be presented over here, that is 5. Now I will move on again. Now in the next step, when I will come here the t dot val, I'm sorry, uh, the f should be reduced to capital T using production rule t to f, right? And the corresponding semantic rule that is written over here is t dot val equal to f dot val. That means it is just copying the val, the value of this val attribute of this f node into the value of val attribute of t node. So that means here also dot val will be equal to 5. Now then I will the parser will move on, the parsing will move on, and the next time will come like t is reduced to e. So same thing, it will be something like e dot val will be what? T is reduced to E because of this production rule E to T, and it is written E dot val equal to T dot val. That means E dot val will be equal to 5 again, right? And in this way, let's draw the path first. So it will be follow some path something like this, right? That already we have seen. It will follow this path. Just for saving the time, I have drawn the path first, and now I will evaluate one by one. So up to this one I have done, then nothing to reduce, and then when it will come in this point, num equal to 3 should be reduced to f. So that means here f dot val will be equal to 3. Similarly, when it will reduce to this point, this t dot val will be equal to 3. Then again num will be reduced to f, right? And here f dot val will be equal to 2. Then when it will come to this point, I can see that I can fire the production t to t star f, right? And what is written over here, t to t star f, that is t dot val equal to t dot val into f dot val. That means whatever value of this val attribute in these other two nodes t and f, that will be multiplied, and that should be the result should get stored in the val attribute of this t, that is over here. So here it will be 6. And then in the same way, basically the first semantic rule will fire, and because of that the val attribute of this e will have the addition of these two, that is 5 plus 6 11. As a result you will get 11 over here. So this is a way by which, taking the parts tree, that means taking the order of the production rules from the syntax analysis phase, this semantic analysis first check whether they are syntactically correct or not, and then, sorry, not semantically correct or not, and then it basically evaluates. So till now I have given an example just to evaluate a particular string. We have not yet, I have not actually given any example, so that you can understand how basically I can write a formal rule for checking whether a particular SDT, how a particular SDT I can draw for checking for two different say operator, two different the data type of two different variable which basically we are adding or subtracting or something like that, right? So let's try to find another way. Say for example like this, say we have another grammar, a very simple grammar. Let's draw let's take a grammar something like this: e2 e plus e. Again I am saying that you will say this is a non-deterministic grammar which is not possible to design a parser. I know that it's not possible, but just for timing, just to understand the philosophy of semantic rule, just for timing, you can ignore that particular that particular restriction. Okay, so it can be e plus e, or I can say it can be e equally. Okay, or I can write something like this within bracket e, or you can say some value, or it can be some boolean number, say for example true, or can be false. Now you see, okay, this is false. Now you see there is a chance, for example I can write, I can say for example if I write an equation like 2 plus 3 equal say for is not plus okay, equal say for example true. Okay, true. This is my string. If I pass this string through the semantic analysis phase, I can easily draw a parse tree, right? For example, what I can do, what I will do, I will say that okay, let's start drawing from E. Okay, I will write e to e plus e, and this e can be written as e equal e, and this e will be written as say I mean a num which is basically 2. This e will be equal to 3, and this e is true. This is a num, this is another num, two different value. But you know this sparse tree can be generated from this one. So that means this particular string will successfully pass the syntax analysis phase. But problem is that because of this particular production, because of this particular production over here, 3, how you will compare an integer with a binary variable or a boolean variable? It's not possible to compare. Either both has to be integer or both has to be boolean variable, right? So this particular tree syntactically correct, right? But you can say semantically wrong because of this one. So that means, and here the importance of semantic analysis phase is, and that is only possible if I impose the rule on each and every production rule present in this grammar. And how we can do this? Let's try to draw some rule over here so that we can identify that it is semantically wrong. And what I can do over here? Let's I can write something like this. You see that addition of 2 here, right? 2 are addition. And this addition is possible only if their data types are same. I'm assuming that only I have integer data type in my system. So what I should check? Whether their data type is same or not. If their data type is same, then I have to check whether their data type is integer or not. Because same data type is not only important, they has to be integer. You cannot have an addition between true and true or true and false. You cannot have a numerical addition, it's not possible. So basically, if both criteria passes, then only I can say that the data type of this e should be an integer. Otherwise, I should get an error. The whole thing, how I can express? Let's write it. So I can write something like if, okay, say here I will write e dot type equal e dot type this is one criteria. Another criteria is e dot type has to be integer. This is another criteria. If both criteria passes, then you can say that e dot type will be equal to integer. Otherwise, that means in the else part, sorry, in the else part, you can say for example, you can write a print statement for some error. So this is the whole scenario by which I can say that okay, now question is that what is all these lot of e's are here, right? Remember, let's write it here that this e is this one, this e is this one, and this e, sorry, this e is this one. So since actually in the left hand side and right hand side all variables are same, that's why maybe it looks little bit confusing. But I hope if you clearly realize that if you closely try to realize that how these e's are connected with this grammar, I hope it will be clear to realize that what is the exact meaning of this, right? Now same thing you see for equal sign. If I consider same thing, what I can do, I can apply something like, I can say that if that first of all I have an equal sign, so both has to be same data type first of all, right? So that means again here also e dot type has to be equal e dot type, where this e and this e represents two differently present in other side of the equal sign. This is the one criteria. Another criteria is e dot type equal int or e dot type equal boolean. That means bool. Just I've written bool. Okay, let's let boolean. It's really much more clear to realize. So if this criteria also, there's the another criteria. I mean, these are the two criteria. If these two criteria fulfills, then only you can say then e dot type equal to boolean. Else print some error. Now see a very interesting thing, that if both data type is same and either they integer or boolean, I have written then e type equal to boolean. That means what I mean to say is that, for example, if I say that I can write something like true equal 3, it gives false, and true equal false, this also gives false. So output is always boolean, and that we actually see in general case. Generally we see like this when we check in C language, that if a equal b and if a and b two integer variables, and if they are same, actually the conditions return either true or false. That means wherever the conditions output is stored, the data type of the output is boolean, and that actually I have represented here. Okay. Now, so these two parts is clear, I hope. Now you see the third, from third, fourth onward is a very easy, because it's nothing to do, it's just, having a bracket. So there is nothing to write, it's just e dot type should be equal to e dot type. The type should be matched. Right. In this case of num, this e dot type should be integer. I'm assuming only integer data type in my system just for simplicity. And in the last two case, this e dot type. Why I'm saying e dot type? Because I'm writing e to true. I mean, this is the production rule, right? So e dot type, if it is true, then if you are reducing true to capital E, then type of e should be equal to boolean. And here also e dot type equal to boolean. Now you may ask me that, sir, why you have not basically calculated the result? You have not added their result, right? Why I have not done that? Because it's not a exact complete set of rule present for only this particular production rule. I have shown this rule just to show you that how you can write a rule for checking whether the data types that are actually being added or subtracted are correct or not. Just to show that. I may have many other rules present in the same same production rule. For example, for e to e plus e, I must have type checking, and not only then e type equal to int, I must add it also. That means I must write that e dot val equal to e dot val plus e dot val. You can also add, you can also in the then part, you can also write that e dot, you can, let's take a different color to represent it. You can also write here that e dot val equal to e dot val plus e dot val. Actually, that's I should have. Here the val is another attribute present in the same node e. So I have defined here two different attributes because I need to store two different information. One is for considering the type of the variable and another is the value of the variable. So that's why I have kept two different. So I have just given this particular, I have not used this e dot val equal to e dot val plus e dot val just here, just to show you. I have just shown you here that what if I consider about checking, how I can write that. In the previous example, I have used the variable value. But it's not the only rule that I should write over here. I may have more than one rules present in the same production. Like for example, this addition is only possible if type of E and type of T is same. Type of E and type of T is on same. And they has to be integer. For example, then only you must have this addition. So that condition checking I have not written here. That does not mean that condition checking should not be there. Condition checking has to be there. Just I have represented the condition checking and evaluation in two different examples. That's all. So this is the way by which we can draw the we can write the rules for different type of production rules, different type of grammars. Okay. Now you see one thing, that we are talking about all these attributes and all, like maybe type is an attribute, val is an attribute. If you closely watch the different type of attribute with respect to writing rules, we can actually differentiate attribute also into two parts. Okay, one we call synthesized attribute and another is called inherited attribute. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let's start the synthesized attribute. Let's start the synthesized attribute and inherited attribute from the next class. Okay. So this is all about what we have discussed about a basic idea on syntax directed translation and how we can write rules associated with a production. So from the next day, we will first see that how to what are the different types of attribute we can have in a SDT, and we will try to solve some problems where we have to evaluate string based on rule presented in a SDT.